The moment the hidden camera blinked to life, Eleanor Sterling felt something she hadn't felt in years: fear. Not the kind that gnaws at you quietly, but the kind that grips your chest and forces your heart into your throat. She told herself it wasn't paranoia. She told herself she had every right. After all, she was a billionaire CEO, a woman who had built an empire from nothing, and more importantly, a mother to a 6-year-old boy who barely spoke anymore. She couldn't afford trust. Not again. Especially not with the new hire. Leo Ramirez walked into her mansion every morning with the same calm, almost disarming presence. A single dad with eyes that carried more stories than he ever told. He had been hired as her son Oliver's live-in caretaker, recommended by 3 different specialists who said he had something rare when it came to children with selective mutism and anxiety. Still, Eleanor needed proof. She needed to see for herself how he was with her son. And so she installed the cameras. Hidden between the books on Oliver's shelves. Behind the small vent cover near the playroom. Inside the carved wooden owl that sat on the bedside table. She watched it all. And nothing could have prepared her for what she saw. The first day, Oliver did what he always did: he curled into himself. Knees to chest, head tucked, fingers pulling anxiously at the hem of his shirt. Leo didn't speak right away. He sat on the floor a few feet away, quiet, hands loosely folded in his lap. No pressure. No forced cheerfulness. Just presence. Eleanor leaned closer to her monitor. "Say something," she urged silently. "Try harder." But Leo didn't. Instead, he waited until Oliver peeked at him through his hair before offering a tiny smile. "You don't have to talk today," he said gently. "We can just exist together." The words hit Eleanor harder than she expected. It was the first time someone hadn't tried to fix her son on day 1. Then came the second day, and the third, and the fourth. Slow, steady moments that stitched a fragile thread between the man and the boy. Leo drew pictures next to Oliver, never asking him to look but leaving space for him to peek. He read books aloud, tuning his voice to the boy's shrinking flinches. He didn't reach out when Oliver cried during sensory overload. He simply dimmed the lights and hummed until the boy's breathing calmed. Eleanor found herself watching the footage every night long after both of them were asleep. She'd always thought she understood parenting, but watching Leo taught her things money had never bought her: patience, empathy, presence. But it wasn't until the 8th day that everything changed. Oliver was sitting on the rug, legs crossed, turning the same blue block over and over in his hands. Leo sat beside him, drawing quietly in a notebook. After a long silence, Oliver lifted the block and placed it, almost awkwardly, on Leo's knee. Leo froze, not dramatically, just enough that Oliver could see he had his full attention. "Is this for me?" he asked softly. Oliver nodded. Eleanor gasped. She hadn't even heard him agree to cereal that morning, much less interact with someone. Then Oliver whispered, barely audible, "Blue." Leo's eyes shone. He didn't rush, didn't celebrate. He only whispered back, "Blue is a nice color." Eleanor covered her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. She had spent thousands on specialists, flown across the world for treatments, bought every interactive toy and sensory tool money could find. And not one of them had reached her son the way this gentle, unassuming single dad had. She couldn't understand it, but she kept watching. Weeks went by, and the bond between Leo and Oliver deepened. Yet the more she watched, the more Eleanor noticed something else. Leo struggled. Late at night, long after Oliver was asleep, he would sit on the edge of the guest bed with paperwork spread around him. Bills, overdue notices, medical documents. He rubbed his temples, sighing quietly so no one would hear. Once, he whispered, "I'll figure it out, Maddie. I promise." Eleanor didn't know who Maddie was. But she recognized the kind of desperation in his voice, the kind that comes from having no safety net. It haunted her. Still, she didn't intervene. Not yet. She didn't know how to bridge the gap between employer and something else. The shock came the following month. It was nearly midnight when Oliver woke from a nightmare. Eleanor, watching from her home office, felt her stomach twist as her son screamed and sobbed, something he hadn't done in months. She stood instantly, ready to run to him, when the camera caught movement at the door. Leo. He didn't rush in. He entered with quiet, controlled steps and knelt beside the trembling boy. "It's okay, Ollie. I'm here." Oliver clung to him, something he had never done with anyone. Leo scooped him up without hesitation, settling back in the rocking chair, holding the boy close to his chest, rocking gently. "Daddy used to hold me like this when I had nightmares too," Leo whispered. "You're safe. I promise." It took 20 minutes for Oliver to calm, tiny fist still gripping Leo's shirt as he fell back asleep. Leo stayed long after, humming gently, never loosening his hold. Eleanor pressed trembling fingers to her lips. She had hired a caretaker. But what Oliver had found was a father figure. The breaking point came the next morning. Eleanor walked into the playroom unannounced. Oliver was building a block tower, humming softly. Leo sat beside him, smiling with quiet pride. Oliver saw his mother and did something he hadn't done in months. He ran into her arms. "Mama," he whispered. Her heart shattered wide open. She looked at Leo over Oliver's shoulder. "You've done something incredible," she said, voice thick. "Something no one else could." Leo shook his head. Oliver just needed time. Someone to understand him. "And who understands you?" she asked quietly. He froze. Eleanor didn't press. Something in his eyes told her he wasn't used to being seen. The truth came out later that week. Leo was standing outside on the back patio, talking on the phone in a low, tense voice. Eleanor hadn't intended to eavesdrop, but the worry in his tone pulled her attention. "I know," he said. "But I can't take on another job. I'm here all day. And the treatments cost more every month." A pause. "Yes, I know what the doctors said. I don't want to lose her." The ache in his voice was raw. Eleanor stepped outside. "Leo," he startled, quickly ending the call. "Is everything okay?" she asked. He hesitated. "It's my daughter, Maddie. She's 8. She lives with my sister right now because I can't afford in-home care. She has a chronic illness that needs treatment we've been struggling to pay for." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because my problems aren't yours," he said. "And because I didn't want to risk this job. Oliver needs stability. And you don't," she asked softly. Leo dropped his gaze, and for the first time, Eleanor saw the full weight he carried. Father to 2 children, one of them desperately ill, working multiple jobs, scraping together every penny, still giving her son patience he barely had for himself. Something inside her shifted. What if they didn't have to be separate? She said suddenly. He frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a breath. "What if Maddie came here? What if you didn't have to choose between taking care of your daughter and taking care of my son?" Leo blinked rapidly. "Eleanor, I'm not offering charity," she said quickly. "I'm offering partnership. You've given Oliver his voice. Let me give Maddie a chance at healing." His throat worked as though he were swallowing emotion. "You don't have to do this." "I know," she said. "But I want to." And from the way his eyes softened, she knew he finally believed her. Maddie arrived 2 weeks later, a small girl with tired eyes but a brave smile. Oliver was shy at first, but soon the two formed an unexpected bond, building puzzles and having quiet coloring sessions together. The mansion, once cold despite its luxury, warmed in ways Eleanor had never imagined, walls echoing with gentle laughter and soft conversations. For the first time in her life, she felt like she wasn't just providing for her son. She was giving him a family. And for Leo, the weight he carried for so long finally had a place to rest. Months later, Eleanor found herself watching the old camera footage again, this time not out of fear, but gratitude. She no longer needed the cameras and had disconnected them, but she kept one video. The one where Oliver whispered, "Blue." It was the moment everything changed. Leo walked into her office one evening, leaning on the doorframe with a soft smile. "Ollie and Maddie want to show you the fort they built." Eleanor smiled. "I'll be right there." He nodded, but didn't leave. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For believing in me. For giving my daughter a chance. For giving us both a place." She stepped closer. "You gave my son something priceless. The least I could do was try to return it." His eyes met hers, warm, steady, grateful. And in that moment, Eleanor knew something with absolute certainty. Sometimes the family you find is the one you were brave enough to let in. In the end, the hidden camera she installed out of fear didn't expose a threat. It revealed a miracle. It taught her that trust, real trust, doesn't come from watching people. It comes from opening your heart to them. And that was the beginning of a story none of them ever expected. But all of them desperately needed.